All right. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that I think you're all going to find really, really interesting. So if you're listening to this, you're probably working in the world of digital products, coding, testing, managing, analyzing. And in that world,
It's a jungle out there.
yeah, it is a jungle. And we all know that the compass that we need to navigate that jungle is a good user story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that brings us to what we're talking about today. We are talking about ELI,
Eli.
which is an AI tool by a company called Elevon. And they're claiming that this AI tool can automate user story generation and make the whole process 70% faster and 100% accurate.
Sounds like a dream.
It really does sound like a dream,
Yeah,
right?
especially for developers.
Yeah, especially for developers.
But what's interesting is that they're not just targeting developers. They're actually saying that Eli is going to change the game for everybody involved. So testers, security folks, business analysts, project managers, even product managers.
So basically what you're saying is if you touch a user story in any way, ELI is for you.
Yep. That seems to be the message.
So let's cut through the marketing hype for a minute and
Yeah.
look at what kind of specific challenges they say they're trying to solve.
Right.
Like what are the pain points that ELI is really going after?
Well, I think the biggest pain point is that developers often struggle with vague user stories, and that can lead to confusion, and it can definitely lead to delays. Testers need those stories to be clear and structured so they can generate test cases from them.
And of course, we can't forget about security, which always seems like an afterthought.
Right, and that's where Elevon's saying that they're different because Eli automatically integrates security protocols into every user story. So things like data handling and access control are considered right from the very beginning.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So we've got developers, we've got testers, and we've got security covered. But what about the folks who are kind of bridging the gap between the business needs and the technical side of things?
Well, you're talking about the business
The
analysts.
business analyst?
Yeah, they often have a hard time translating those big picture business goals into those really detailed technical requirements that developers need.
Yeah, that translation process can be like trying to read hieroglyphics.
You got it.
So how is Eli claiming to help with that?
Well, they're saying that Eli acts as a sort of universal translator.
Interesting.
It takes those initial business ideas
Hmm.
and refines them into actionable user stories, complete with acceptance criteria and all the nitty-gritty details.
Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit of a picture of how this could really streamline things. But we're still missing one key player here,
Who's that?
the project managers.
Oh, of course.
The poor project managers who are juggling timelines and resources and a million different things.
Right. They're the ones who have to kind of keep the whole project on track.
Yeah. So how is Eli going to make their lives any easier?
Well, they're saying that Eli is going to organize user stories into epics, so those larger chunks of work that represent, key features or milestones. And get this, they're also saying that it integrates seamlessly with all those popular project management tools like Jira.
So no more manual data entry.
That's the idea.
Wow.
So basically, Eli can automatically create tickets and update the progress in Jira based on the user stories it generates.
Oh, wow. So they're saying that Eli can do all of that.
Yep. And in addition to that, they're also saying that it provides a collaborative platform where everyone involved can see the latest information in real time and work together more effectively. Really, Elevon is emphasizing this idea of collaboration, precision, and efficiency throughout all of their material.
It's really starting to sound like they're trying to make Eli into this ultimate digital product development assistant. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at how this AI magic actually works.
Yeah, how does it do it?
Well, they're talking about natural language processing, machine learning, all kinds of really cool stuff. But you know what? Let's save all that juicy stuff for part two. Yeah, because we need to give our listeners a little time to digest all this new information. So stay tuned, folks, because when we come back, we are going to break down the nuts and bolts of Eli and see what's really going on under the hood. Okay, so we've heard all about what Eli is supposed to be able to do, but I think it's time to get into the nitty-gritty. Like, how does this AI actually work?
Well, like a lot of AI tools these days, it's all built on, natural language processing and machine learning.
NLP and machine learning.
Right. So essentially, it's kind of like teaching a computer to understand human language.
So it's like reading all those user stories and learning the patterns, the structures, all of that.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what?
Well, then you give it some information to get started.
So it's
Yeah.
like you give it some context, some raw materials.
Right. Exactly. So let's say you're starting a new project. You can give Eli a basic description of the feature you want, who it's for what problem it's trying to solve, all that stuff.
Okay, so you're giving it The basic background information.
Yep. And Eli takes all that and uses its NLP magic to break it down and figure out what's important.
So it's analyzing the input.
And then it goes into its database, which is full of tons of user story templates and examples.
Oh, wow.
And using machine learning, it starts to put together a structured user story.
That's really cool. But you know what happens if your input is kind of vague? Or if you forget to tell something?
Well, that's one of the things that Elevon is really proud of. They say that if Eli finds anything missing or if something doesn't make sense, it'll ask you for clarification.
So it's like having an AI partner who's constantly checking your work.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
making sure that you haven't forgotten anything important.
Okay, that's really impressive. So let's say we've got our really good, well-defined user story now. What?
Well, this is where the Jira integration comes in. So once Eli has generated the user story, it can automatically send all the relevant information over to Jira.
So no more copy and pasting.
Right. And it's not just about saving time either. By putting the information directly into Jira, you're also avoiding human error.
That's true.
So, everyone's working from the same information, the same requirements.
Okay, so we're saving time and improving accuracy.
Mm.
But what about testing?
Ah, yes, testing.
How does ELI affect the testing process?
Well, think about how testers usually create test cases. They have to read through those user stories really carefully and try to think of every single scenario.
And sometimes you just miss things.
Exactly, especially when you're dealing with really complex features.
But ELI can help with this, right?
That's what they're saying.
So how does it do that?
So once the user story is ready, Eli analyzes it, and then it creates a bunch of test cases, complete with, pass-fail criteria and everything.
So the testers can get started right away.
Yep, they don't have to start from scratch anymore.
That's fantastic. It frees them up to do other kinds of testing.
Exactly, they can focus on, exploratory testing or other more strategic things.
Okay, so we're really starting to see some major efficiency gains here. But I want to take a step back for a minute and think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What about the overall project management?
Ah, yes.
How does ELI fit into that?
Well, remember how we talked about epics?
Those big chunks of work.
Right, so Eli can organize the user stories into epics, so you can see a high-level view of the project.
So it's not just about individual user stories, it's about understanding how they all fit together.
Exactly.
And then because it's integrated with your project management tools, it can give you real-time updates on how those epics are progressing.
And it can also highlight potential problems or delays.
Wow, so it's like having an AI project manager.
You could say that.
Okay, so to sum up, we've got natural language processing, we've got machine learning, we've got Jira integration, we've got test case generation, epic management, and all this collaboration.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is.
But remember, this is all based on what Elevon is telling us.
That's right.
The big question is, can Eli actually live up to all of this?
Yeah, can it really do all of the things that it's promising?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to find out in part 3.
Yeah.
All right, so we've really gone deep on ELI. We've seen how it works, at least in theory, and all the amazing things it promises. But the big question is, what if it all works? What if this actually lives up to the hype?
That's what I want to know.
Right? Like, what could this actually mean for, for the future of how we build software?
I mean, if it works as well as they say it does, it could really change the game.
So let's talk about that. Like, what does this actually look like in practice, for developers, testers, project managers,
Yeah.
the people who are actually going to be using this tool?
Well, imagine you're a developer, you get to work in the morning, and instead of, spending the first hour of your day trying to figure out what you're supposed to be building.
Yeah, trying to decipher the user story.
Exactly. You just open up Jira, and there it is. A perfectly written user story with all the details you need.
That's the dream.
Right. You can just get straight to coding.
And you know what else? I think it could really improve the quality of the software.
How so?
Well, if the user stories are clear from the beginning, then there's less room for misunderstanding, less room for bugs to sneak in.
Oh, yeah, I see what
So
you
you
mean.
end up with a better product.
It's all about having good input.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Exactly.
But in this case, it's like clarity in, quality out.
I like that.
And, it's not just about the developers. This could have a huge impact on testers, too.
Oh, absolutely.
They can start testing right away. They don't have to waste time trying to come up with test cases.
And project managers can keep track of everything more easily.
So it's really about making the whole team more efficient.
More efficient and more collaborative.
Yeah, everyone's on the same page working together.
Exactly.
But, we have to be realistic. There are always potential downsides to new technologies.
Of course.
Like, what if we become too reliant on AI?
That's a good point.
What if we stop thinking critically about the user stories?
We can't just accept what the AI gives us blindly.
We still need human judgment and expertise.
Exact.
It's all about finding that balance, using AI as a tool to make us better, not to replace us.
Well said.
So for everyone listening out there, I hope this deep dive into ELI has given you a lot to think about.
It's a really fascinating technology.
Yeah, and it raises a lot of questions about the future of software development.
If it really works the way they say it does, it could change everything.
It really could, but I guess only time will tell. So in the meantime, stay curious, keep exploring, and as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.